Okay, apparently I am currently live, and I just want to very briefly, I don't have a lot of time, answer a question that I got with regard to my video from a while back about autoism versus altruism, in which I was explaining about Mara Fallowfield, but I was also explaining about Howard Rourke. Howard Rourke is basically an autoist. He's motivated by his desire to build buildings, not by his desire to help the downtrodden. However, he can help the downtrodden better than somebody else like Peter Keating, who was very socially motivated, but because he's not interested in the technical aspects of architecture, he can't be a very good architect. Um, so I'm dealing with this particular way of talking about it because obviously it has occurred to me during this millennium that autism and self-motivation are related, and that part of the social problems that non-autistic people have is that everybody else thinks that they're supposed to be primarily motivated by social interactions with others. Um, so I was trying to explain that there, but then this person came at me and said, well, if there's a good person and he's internally motivated to help others, then uh, is he an altruist or is he an autoist, or what's the problem here? Okay, it's really not about your notion of what is a good person. The whole idea that a good person would necessarily be thinking about other people, either to their detriment or in order to help them, is a misunderstanding. And an autoist isn't somebody who's out to get other people or out to hurt other people, but that person is also not out to help people. Um, because people are not the primary focus of an autoist, whereas for an altruist, other people are his focus. And because he's so focused on other people and social issues, he often disregards technical matters, and he usually allows um, other people to decide technical matters for him. So, for example, right now, we are having this push to allow only experts to decide what the truth is about nutrition, about medicine, about primatology, whatever the topic is. Why would that be a push? Because a lot of people really think that we get to vote about what the truth is, and we get to vote about who is the expert, and then it's all social. And there's no truth outside our social world, and our world will not collapse. The reason I'm interested right now in reading The Black Swan, and I've been talking about that on my other channel, is because The Black Swan is really about situations that are outside the expertise of the experts. Because guess what? There is a reality outside our social world, or even inside our social world, that is greater than the common good. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about, but I don't have a lot of time to explain it. So I'm going to tell you about something I saw based an ad by some kind of psychological service or whatever, and it was about ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And some people say that's just a made up thing. There's no such thing. It's just a push to sedate children or to give medicine to children because they're having trouble sitting still. But in any event, this ad said that there was something about adults with ADHD that wasn't understood yet, and they had the answer. And the answer was that uh, attention for normal people who don't have ADHD is decided on the basis of importance. So it's called importance-based attention. Whereas, according to this study, people with ADHD have interest-based attention. In other words, they only pay attention if they're interested in something. And I thought to myself, my goodness, isn't that what we all do? Don't we all pay attention to what we're interested in and totally ignore the things that we're not interested in? I mean, how else could you live your life? And what does importance mean? Because obviously importance is a value biased word. So what do they really mean by importance? And I suspect that what these psychologists mean is that importance to other people as opposed to ourselves. So for instance, if you are really interested in following a butterfly and you're really focused on that, that's interest-based attention. If a police officer stops you and says, I want you to put up your hands and do as I tell you, a normal person would stop because they realize the importance of that socially. And they realize the social importance of doing as they are told by a police officer because he might kill them. But somebody who is so interest-based, so focused on pursuing that butterfly might simply not pay attention to the police officer. So this person is an autoist. This person is not paying attention to his social situation. He's paying attention to something else that he's interested in. I hope this helps. I don't have a lot more time to talk about this, but this is another way to look at the autoist versus altruist problem. It's not that one of them is bad and the other is good. I might have a bias in favor of one. You might have a bias in favor of the other. But before we can discuss which one we like better, first of all, we need to understand what they are. Obviously, anything anybody does is internally motivated. If you're interested in fashion, you're internally motivated. But what are you motivated to follow? What other people like. Okay? So that makes you more of an altruist than an autoist. An autoist would be someone who might be interested in the internal composition of fabric without any regard to the usefulness of that fabric to other people. We have a world in which we have both altruists and autoists, and they fight with each other constantly. And I don't think we can make peace until we, first of all, understand each other. So Ayn Rand used to use the word social metaphysician, and it was very negative because she didn't like those people. And J.D. Salinger used the term fakes. I think they were talking about the same thing, but both of them were very negative. And so the people who are like that didn't like to be called social metaphysicians, didn't like to be called fakes, but maybe they will accept being called altruists, because at least there we show that we understand that they're very concerned with other people, with social issues, with society. They have a contribution to make, but theirs might not be the only contribution. During times of mediocristan, they are going to thrive, but as soon as there's a black swan, they might not. So there, I've tied everything together. If you have more questions, I'd be happy to answer.